Reshaping the business of harvesting personal data, from extractivism to inclusivity using design science. So what is personal data? So we've come with a definition that talks about data being the digital representation of information, and that information has to be revealed, and it's a revelation about things like what we are, what we prefer, our mental, physical health, information about our wealth, and our social and political views. Or it can be generated by means of technology and our interaction with technology. It's what it's called digital devices. Those are able to collect and store that in various digital formats. When we talk about personal data, we are also interested in what types of data we consider. So one first approach is facets of life. For instance, personal finance, health, citizenship and civil life, professional and career, consumption like food preferences or technology preferences or leisure services, all those being different types of data about what we do and what we are. But not only that, it could also be approached as the mode in which the data is generated. So we have actively generated data where we think of the individual as a subject and the data which is stemming from conscious behavior, or passively generated where the focus is on the individual as an object and the data is being recorded or captured with a actually low awareness of such actions. It can also be derivatively generated, and that's something that happens when algorithms are applied and data is produced uh, by observation or recording of the individual's behavior. A third mode of type is based on the duration or the temporal stability of the data. So we have either permanent data, it actually exhibits high stability and not much change, or quasi-permanent data, that's data that's going to change over time but with a low frequency and is more like due to updates that may happen. But it also includes ever-changing data, and that's data that changes with a high frequency, more dynamic changes, and definitely context dependent. Uh, Behavioral data is a typical example of that. All that leads us to a big question. Who owns my personal data? It's a long struggle now for individuals to who aspire to actually own their own data when the world is showing us that probably that's not what big technology companies think. So we have come up with a definition of ownership that talks about, first of all, personal data, just as we saw before in the definition of personal data. And that data is said to be co-owned by the individual and the legal entity that owns or licenses the means that allow for the creation of such data. And there's one additional aspect is that the corresponding shares of claims to ownership by these two parties will be determined by a negotiation procedure. And that's our view of ownership, which leads us to a hypothesis. It is that shared data ownership can certainly increase market efficiency. So when we talk about markets where personal data is being traded, uh, we believe that that's our hypothesis. If personal data is ownership is understood as shared ownership between the individual who interacts with digital technology and the owner of such technology uh, that converts the behavior into recorded data, the market where said data is traded can perform more efficiently. An efficient personal data market should make a distribution of value that is created by such data between the individuals and the platforms, those that produce the data and those that use and trade the data based on their contributions and risks they assume. The improvement in efficiency is reflected in the transformation of individuals from exploited to value co-creators and sharers. That is reshaping the business of harvesting personal data from extractivism to exclusivity using design science.